using men's appetite for sex as a way to exploit them financially. And it was perceived in a way or presented in a way that these women were actually heroes for, taking back their power and everything else. When really it's if you're a person who's never victimized anyone, right? If you're not waking up saying, okay, how am I going to harm a woman? It's scary, right? It's very scary for men. And I remember when I used to work at AOL Black Voices, and I got a note from a lady who explained to me what she and her stripper friends had done, where they would wait for athletes and entertainers to come into town, and they would lure them back to the hotel and then drug them so that they could then victimize them in whatever way, right? Maybe put them in the bed with a young girl or whatever, and take pictures and then threaten, blackmail them. She also talked about a friend of hers that she was dating a guy who was the head of a gang, and what she would do is she would use their indiscriminate appetite for sex and their lack of conscious thinking, critical thinking skill to lure them back to the hotel. And she would literally get him naked, and then his friends would come in and kill the guy, right? But that's the oldest trick in the book. That's been going on for thousands of years, right? So ultimately, this is one of the reasons why I've always said that consciousness and some degree of sexual discipline is absolutely essential if you're a man that has resources, because they're always going to try to lure you in that particular way. So those who and you should really talk to your sons about this at some point. Make sure they hear this. That once you get resources, you're going to attract a lot of attention. And I can tell you, one of my rules is I don't really spend time. I don't spend significant amounts of time with women I don't know and don't trust. Right? Because look, it's a crazy world out here, and you don't know what people are thinking and what they're trying to do. Being married was great because it's like, well, I got my wife right here, so no, there's no misunderstanding, that kind of thing. And you have to take those precautions because there are people out there that are going to try to do things to you that aren't fair, right? So ultimately, with Summer Walker, I don't know. I'm not really concerned about her life. That's her life. She can choose to be whatever she wants to be. What I'm really concerned about are the millions and millions and millions of young women that are influenced by this. And it's not even bad enough that they're hurting people when you think this way, right? You're hurting the feelings of good men who might legitimately want to have a healthy relationship with you, and you're stealing from them, you're exploiting them, right? Using them, right? But then also, it doesn't seem to end up good for the even the victimizer, even the person, the woman who says I'm gonna sleep with men for money. uh there's consequences for that, right? There's STDs, there is abuse. There are lots of rich men who are very abusive, who say, yeah, I have. There was a famous guy that I saw. I actually know him, but I won't say his name. But I heard him say, he said, yeah, oh yeah. He said, because I have money, I can use women, I can get whatever I want, and I'll give you some insignificant amount of money, and that will allow me to have whatever I want. And I know for a fact this guy is not a good person. He does not have a high opinion of women. So if you are a person who is distracted by the bright shiny stuff, then you could easily fall for that. And I think that just is unfortunate, right?